Donald Trump is saying right now that it's going to get worse because he's introducing new tariffs tomorrow. If you're watching this video, new tariffs might already be in place here. We need to see if this leads to further uncertainty. At the same time, we're seeing that despite these negative statements, Bitcoin's price is performing really well. Let's take a look at what that's all about. We have some major statements from Cathie Wood, who says that a deflationary boom is coming our way. We also have Paulo Adrino talking about the strategic Bitcoin reserve in the U.S. and that all nations will follow the US here. That's hyper bullish. Paulo Adrino is the CEO of Tether and he has some really exciting insights here. He's talking about a momentum that's coming our way, which will drive everyone, people, companies, states, and so on to massively allocate into Bitcoin. He calls it a holy shit moment that's coming our way. Let's fucking go. First, let's take a look at Donald Trump, because whenever he puts something out about tariffs, we see Bitcoin's price take a dive. As soon as Donald Trump gives the all clear again, things will start to go back up. And we're seeing the exact same game play out here again. He's announcing new tariffs that will take effect here tomorrow. If you're watching this video, the tariffs have most likely already gone into effect, depending on when you're tuning in. I'm always a bit behind on time here, and he says something very interesting. He says here that Ontario, Canada, is imposing a 25% tariff on electricity imported into the United States. I've instructed my trade minister to impose an additional 25% tariff, bringing the total to 50% on all steel and aluminum imports from Canada into the United States, one of the countries with the highest tariff rates in the world. And this will happen here tomorrow morning on the 12th March. And we need to pay close attention now, because, as I said, whenever we have announcements from Donald Trump, any talk about tariffs creates uncertainty in the market. And also, when he made that announcement, Bitcoin initially sold off, but afterward, Bitcoin recovered really well. He also says, I will soon declare a national emergency regarding electricity in the threatened regions. So that means that here, things are now getting even worse with all the tariffs that are coming our way. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin is going to completely crash or anything, but we really need to keep an eye on what Donald Trump is doing and what's happening with all these tariff issues, because lately, they've really had a significant impact on Bitcoin prices. But shortly after that, there was also the report that, according to The Guardian, the US is doubling tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum and no longer on 50% after Ontario suspended its 25% jump tariff. So that kind of eased things up a bit a few hours later. Then Bitcoin reacted a bit positively right away. But we will still see tariffs coming tomorrow, or maybe for you, depending on when you're watching this, today. Donald Trump has also said that he really doesn't care what happens in the markets in the short term. So, whether the stock markets go up or down in the short term, whether Bitcoin goes up or down in the short term, that means he's also willing to really take on some pain. Through tariffs, through the uncertainties he spreads in the market, through potential, even recessions he could trigger, and so on. He doesn't care about any of it. He's basically looking at the big picture. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyway, even if he were asked about it here. At Fox, they also asked how things are looking regarding any additional tariffs, and so on. He said that, yes, the tariffs could go up at any time. So that doesn't mean the worst is already over. We can expect little pullbacks from time to time due to such Trump statements. That wouldn't massively hurt Bitcoin or anything, but these are just always here. Little pockets of uncertainty that are still holding Bitcoin back. His exact quote here was also this: tariffs are all about making America rich again and making America great again. And it's happening, and it's going to happen pretty fast. He said there'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. So he's saying, hey, all these tariffs and stuff, that's going to make us all rich. This is going to cause big problems in the short term. But in the long run, it's really not a problem at all. And that's basically exactly what I was saying earlier. It can get worse before it gets better. And we just have to keep an eye on it. But there are also some ultra bullish things happening right now. So, there's a new statement from Cathie Wood, who actually believes we're heading into a deflationary boom. I also made a video yesterday about Larry Fink, who believes that the US will drift into high inflation for 6 to 9 months, before potentially drifting into deflation. And then, the US is on a very good path. So, Larry Fink from BlackRock is assuming that things are going to get worse before they get better. We have Donald Trump, who definitely thinks that things are going to get worse before they get better. And then we have Cathie Wood, who also makes a really powerful statement here. And let me read this to you. She says here, in our view, the market is anticipating the final stage of a prolonged recession, which gives the Trump administration and the Powell Fed much more freedom than investors expected. This is preparing the US economy for a deflationary boom in the second half of the year. That means she's expecting a rolling recession. So, Cathie Wood always talks about not that the recession is coming in 2 or 3 years or in 2 or 3 months or anything like that, but she actually believes that we've been in a recession in the U.S. for several months, if not even a year now. And that's also what a lot of people have speculated that Donald Trump wants to trigger here. Cathie Wood sees it differently. She says here, the recession has been here all along. We've had a stagnant economy all along. Things haven't been going well for a while now. And yeah, now we have inflationary tendencies here. They might even go up, but in the second half of the year, we're going to see a deflationary boom. So, a deflationary boom means that prices will go down, things will get cheaper at the supermarket, and this whole situation might even strengthen the economy. I'm not so sure that's really the case. Cathie Wood is always in the deflation camp. I'm still a bit skeptical because I see a lot of inflationary factors that could potentially hit the U.S. It also says down here from ARK Invest, which is Cathie Wood's asset management firm, that the markets are on the brink of a turning point. Here, with interest rate cuts, tariffs, duties, and shifting monetary policy, meaning that the monetary policy is being changed again. That means all of this together could potentially lead us into a boom. And that would be the dangerous part, because a lot of people are getting shaken off now since Bitcoin has corrected a bit. But Cathie Wood, Larry Fink, and many others, including Donald Trump, actually believe that in the long run, the economy will be very, very stable here. And if that happens, and we go back into a risk-on setting, meaning that risk assets become interesting again, then it's really, really bad if you've sold your Bitcoin now. That means I'm always waiting for that. It's too reckless to sell your Bitcoin off. Yeah, you can definitely do that to a certain extent, also take profits. And so they're never wrong. But when you start dumping all your holdings, that's usually historically been a really, really bad deal. Right now, the market is still in this cautious phase because there's just a lot of uncertainty. What's happening now with interest rates? What's happening with the tariffs? And so on. And as soon as this uncertainty is gone, the market will shift back into a risk-on sentiment. Then tech stocks will start to rise again. Then Bitcoin will start to rise again. And if the money supply increases as well, and it's already on the rise, then Bitcoin will benefit even more from that. And that's also confirmed by Paulo Adrino, the CEO of Tether, who makes a bold statement here. Regarding Bitcoin, about the strategic Bitcoin reserve, he puts it into perspective here. And says that a massive turn is coming our way. And anyone who's not in Bitcoin right now could have big problems, because the Bitcoin price could really take off here. I mean, he doesn't say it word for word, but that's how it sounds when he says it himself. That's just my interpretation of it. But take a look at this.
The other side, I think that the fact that the US government acknowledged the importance of Bitcoin is incredible. I think that every other countries will follow, every other country should follow.
It's incredible that the US is maintaining a strategic Bitcoin reserve. He says here that all the other countries will follow. He thinks that all the other countries will also set up a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We have to point out that Paulo Adrino isn't just some random guy or anything like that. He's connected with the biggest, most powerful, and wealthiest people in the whole world. He has the most profitable company in the whole world with Tether, with his own stablecoin. He's also going to talk about Nabukil and stuff like that. And that's already a huge statement. I mean, we have to say that this isn't going to happen tomorrow or anything. But in the long run, if you really think through the whole Bitcoin game theory, it could very well be that sooner or later the whole world is on a Bitcoin standard. And that's exactly what Paulo Adrino is talking about here. They're also buying up massive amounts of Bitcoin. So, Paulo Adrino with Tether, they're one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin, because they regularly invest their profits from Tether into Bitcoin. But listen on.
I've been good friends with the president of El Salvador. Actually, Jack Mallers is the person that actually started the movement. A
little casual introduction, no big deal. Hey, you guys should meet.
And so this is a moment in time where I think in the next and for the next 20 years, the new global financial system will be reshaped.
So he pauses a bit, says here, he knows Nabukil, Jack Mallers, and so on and so forth. And then he says here that in the next 20 years, the global financial system is going to be completely turned upside down. There's going to be a reset, and part of that reset will also include Bitcoin. And anyone who doesn't have Bitcoin will have a big problem. And that's the thing, when nation states start buying more Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, and so on. I mean, it's clear that the Bitcoin price is going to go up. More and more options are being evaluated on how the US can buy Bitcoin. And that has always been my statement. Pretty soon, after the strategic Bitcoin reserve was introduced, that the US will buy Bitcoin. Now the only question is how exactly and when they will buy Bitcoin. Maybe a lot is already happening, behind the scenes. We don't know for sure, but Paulo Adrino has some more interesting points to make.
Will be reshaped. And I think that in the past, humanity was using gold. Now it's clear that Bitcoin is the right way to do so, because then imagine trying to transport gold or gold from one country to another. Bitcoin is the way, and now I think that there was an announcement. There will be a strategy that will be not too public to acquire Bitcoins, because otherwise, they will just pump the price.
He says that gold has been money for a very long time, but now there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is way better, easier to transport, and of course it's also scarcer, rarer, more verifiable, and so on. And now here comes the crucial point. He says that he doesn't expect all these tactics to be made public. Otherwise, you'd just be pumping the Bitcoin price. That's also what a lot of people say. Hey, the USA did a really clever job here, because they didn't live up to expectations, but they still announced a strategic Bitcoin reserve without pumping up the Bitcoin price. Because it's a really difficult thing to make an announcement like that without pumping up the Bitcoin price. Paulo Adrino says that a lot is happening behind the scenes, and some people might already be filling their pockets. And when the big announcement comes, like, okay, we're really buying 1 million Bitcoin or something, then the price gets pumped. But by then, they might have already filled their bags. So, game theoretically, it's always better to buy Bitcoin first while the price is low. And then you make the announcement, okay, hey, we just bought 500,000 Bitcoin or something like that. It's like doing it the other way around when the Bitcoin price is low. You make the announcement that you have 500,000, buy Bitcoin, and then you pump the Bitcoin price up, but you don't even have any Bitcoin yet.
And then there will be, an holy shit moment where from every other country thinking, oh, I'm late, I don't have enough Bitcoin, and then the next financial reset in the entire history and all the future financial resets will be in Bitcoin. So this is everything that we needed. This is a stamp that Bitcoin needed, and then, from now on, we just keep our heads down, we keep building better infrastructure.
Then, from now on, we keep our hands down. We're still building better infrastructure. From $50, $60, $70,000. He's talking about a holy shit moment here. Max Kaiser once talked about a Sputnik moment. And I would call it a Valhalla moment or something like that. That means everyone has their own name. But he says that there will be a certain moment when people will realize, shit, now this thing is really happening. And if I'm not in on this now, I'm going to miss out on some huge return opportunities. Then I'm not in the space race. Then I'll just miss the whole party. And then people will start jumping into Bitcoin in droves. And that will really push the Bitcoin price forward. And he's talking about that holy shit moment. And that's a really, really exciting concept that more and more people are bringing to light. Especially now, with the strategic Bitcoin reserve in place. But feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Do you think that's exaggerated, or do you think it all makes sense? The whole story is, if you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll also put a link down below for you. 21 Bitcoin, how you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin. Here, with the code BitcoinHotel, you can still get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Guys, see you later. Peace out.